This video is sponsored by Olney. Hey everyone, welcome back to Reissued. If you're new here, my name is Andrew. Today we are decorating for Christmas. Now, at the time I'm shooting this video, it still feels a little bit early to be decorating for Christmas. I'm not fully in the holiday spirit yet. However, I did want to put this video out early enough that if you see any ideas that you want to incorporate into your holiday decor here, that you would have some time to do that. So I'm going to put on some Christmas music and hope that brings a little holiday magic to my life. Today, we're going to be recreating or taking inspiration from holiday decor trends for 2024, using mostly thrifted materials, things that I already have on hand, or items that I found in the trash. Over the last couple weeks, I've been doing some research. I've been dipping into various stores, TJ Maxx, Target, checking out their holiday displays. I've also been looking online at West Elm, Pottery Barn, Magnolia. What are the big brands putting out for holiday decor this year? And then I've also looked at top decor trends for 2024 in various online magazine publications. And based on these articles and what I've been seeing in stores, I've noticed some trends emerging that we're seeing for holiday decor in 2024. And I want to see if I can capture the novelty and the fun and the magic of these new Christmas items rolling out at a really affordable price point. So wish me luck. I can't wait to get started today and see if we can create a little holiday magic on a budget. Let's jump on in. Okay, so before we dive into any new projects for this year, I'm gonna pull out all of my holiday decor from last year and start putting that out so we can get a sense of what we have so far. I do already have a couple of holiday decor videos in the Reissued Christmas playlist. I'll link that down below. Pretty much everything I'm putting out here I got last year at the thrift store. I did a huge Thrift Haul video. So if you wanna see more about these items and where I found them, go check that out now. So this video is sponsored by Olney, but I had no idea that I was going to be making an infomercial today. Does the process of trying to put traditional Christmas lights on your tree make you want to tear your hair out? Well, I got a solution for you. Seriously though, last year on the white tree, I put on these Christmas lights that I thrifted at the REISSUED store. You know, the standard Christmas lights. And somehow I was more patient with that or more skilled at that last year, or I misremember how long it took me to do it. That's probably what it is. In any case, Olney sponsored one of my Christmas videos last year, and when they reached out to me originally, they said that I could choose any product from their site to talk about, and so I chose the cluster Christmas lights. I thought they looked really cool and unique, and they sent them to me, and I loved them, but we had to switch to a different product because they were totally sold out of the cluster Christmas lights last year. But as I was planning this video, I reached out to them and said, hey, can I talk about those lights in a video? Those are a total game changer, and so here we are. These are the 49-foot warm white cluster lights with 1,000 LEDs. I find putting lights on a Christmas tree to be really frustrating because you have a lot of wire, a lot of length, and not as many lights. And so you're just having to try to find a way to hide all the wire, but then also get it to go all the way around the tree. And so having this essentially garland of light wrap around the tree, I think is really beautiful and just so much faster and easier. These cluster lights come with a remote control and have 8 different settings so they can kind of twinkle and flash or whatever you want them to do. I'm a bit of a traditionalist, so they'll probably just be on, but you do have options there. And it's also good to note that these are waterproof as well, so they're good for indoor and outdoor applications. Since my green tree is going outside on my front porch again, having waterproof lights is going to be great there. So even though I will always be an advocate for going to the thrift store, for repurposing as much as you can, I think that lights are a super fun and festive part of the holiday season, and it doesn't matter how much you love Christmas or holiday decorating, ain't nobody got time to wrap lights around a tree for hours. I also have a couple other projects in mind that need lights, and so I reached out to Olney again and asked them to send me 2 more sets of lights that are just a standard 200 LED strand with a clear cord. The clear cord again is a game changer here because it blends in so nicely. I had planned to use one of the strands to wrap the little snowman / pumpkin man that's on my front porch, but I think I'm going to do that with the old white lights instead because this Christmas tree was killing me, and so I popped the new Olney lights on the Christmas tree. Maybe I'll just order another set to go on the snowman. I don't know. I don't believe that Olney is making the cluster lights with a clear cord yet, so they wouldn't have worked on my white tree. Olney, if you're out there, can we get the cluster lights with a clear cord? In any case, I'm gradually phasing traditional lights out of my life and switching totally over to Olney because it just looks so much better and is so much easier. Thank you so much to Olney for sending me these lights and for sponsoring this video. Cutting in here on this decorating montage to give you a little thrift haul. Not too many new things, but I wanted to show you these before some of them go up on the trees. Okay, first up, I got some brass candlesticks here. These are pretty massive. I got them for $5 a piece at the REISSUED. Don't have a particular place for them, but I think they'd look great in the house year round, so why not? Then we get into some garlands. I have some more red garlands like the ones that I already have. I got these, I think, right after Christmas last year, so these have been hanging around for a while. I got them for $3.99 each at Goodwill. These garlands I got more recently. These I think were from Walmart maybe. They're still new in packaging. I got them for $3 a piece at Goodwill recently. Went ahead and picked up 3 just in case. Right here in the center, I have some vintage glass ornaments. I'm breaking my no glitter rule a little bit, but these are vintage and gorgeous, so we're gonna go with that. Love the candy colors. I think that'll look nice on the white tree. I think these were $2 or $3 a box at the REISSUED. If you were with me on my latest Thrift With Me video, you were with me when I got these. We picked these up at the REISSUED. I think I got 19 of them, a mix of the round shape and the little ornament shape. I think those will be nice maybe on a garland in this room, and maybe I'll put some extras on the trees. Up here, I got these little lanterns at Goodwill for $5 a piece. I like the kind of Moroccan shapes, but there's also little sort of indications of snowflakes that I think feel kind of festive. Not sure about the silver. They might be better in gold or even black. But I thought this might be a fun addition just to add a little candle light. And then finally, I got these little chandelier crystals off of a chandelier that was a metal scrap at the REISSUED. Anytime we get a light fixture at the store that doesn't work or is damaged, it just gets scrapped. I'll talk more about this later, but I did save these from the metal scrap and I have a very cool plan for them. So I am someone that loves to tackle new projects and doesn't like to rehash old projects so much, so pulling out the old Christmas decor and putting that up was very tedious for me. Additionally, starting to put out Christmas decor when it's 75 degrees and muggy outside is not my favorite thing. I tried turning on the Christmas music here, but just couldn't feel it, so instead I listened to Chapel Roan Good Luck Babe on repeat and had a dance party. That song has been out for a while, but it's like my new obsession. So yeah, this was a long process. So now that I have most of the existing decor up, let's start tackling some of the 2024 trends. First up, I've been seeing a lot of natural earthy vibes over the last couple of seasons, and that's definitely continuing into 2024. Lots of greenery and natural materials, especially wood. I'm thinking for the studio mantle, we can incorporate some of that look using the wood garlands from Goodwill and the wood ornaments from the REISSUED. No real DIY necessary here, just some styling. First, I add some stocking holders from Goodwill that will support our garland. I think I got these gold tree ones for $5 each after I shot all of my Christmas content last year. Next up, let's add this natural canvas stocking and these bottle brush trees, all from Goodwill. The natural unbleached fibers definitely play into our natural trend. I didn't have a good spot for these trees last year, and I think this will work. Now let's add one of the new Goodwill redwood garlands, and a natural garland as well. This actually hits on another big trend, which is kind of a nostalgic vintage feel. I feel like that's kind of our vibe here at Reissued anyway, but congratulations, we're on trend. We can fill out the picture with the REISSUED brass candlesticks with these deep red candles that I found in my drawer. The color's great, but I think they might be too tall. Looking good so far. This is the only two-tier mantle in my house, so I want to feature that. When I bought the wood ornaments at the REISSUED, I had a vision of them hanging along the top tier right along the edge. Only problem is that these are super heavy and I don't want to make any holes in the mantle. So after a little thinking, the solution was to tie a length of twine around the edge of the shelf as tightly as possible. And an extra set of hands is definitely helpful for that. Shout out to my parents for being that extra set of hands on a couple of these projects. Now I can tie my ornaments onto the new makeshift twine rail. I use various tying methods to achieve different heights and go for an asymmetrical look to break up the symmetry of the rest of the display. And there we go. Warm, natural vibes with a nostalgic, vintage-inspired touch. Let's continue the nostalgic, traditional vibes with more of a folksy, homemade approach. This is another trend I'm seeing for 2024 with tons of handmade-looking garlands and felt elements. I don't have any felt pieces, but I do have these balls that I knitted years ago when I was bored and felt like knitting. I'll try to find the pattern that I used and link that below in case you're interested in making these as well. They're kind of fun to make and are a great way to use up leftover yarn. But I don't have enough of these knitted balls for a full garland. And since I'm no longer bored and need to get this done, I'm gonna dig out the remains of the sweater that I got at Goodwill that I cut up to make a Halloween wardrobe for Queenie last year. This fabric might be tricky given the really open knit pattern, but I love the red and white combo, so let's see what we can do. First, I cut out a rectangle that's twice as wide as it is tall. It would be a good idea to sew all the way around this on the machine to prevent fraying, but I'm trying to keep it simple, so I'm going to sew all these by hand. I fold the rectangle in half wrong sides together, and then whip stitch the side edge to form a little loop. Then I use a running stitch all the way around one of the open edges and pull it tight to gather it. I make sure to leave a little seam allowance here. If I get too close to the edge, the fraying will become a problem. Once it's gathered, I take some extra stitches across the hole to secure everything together. Now I can turn this right side out and fill it with some poly stuffing that I had on hand. I complete the ball by doing another running stitch around the top edge, pulling tight, and then using a knitting needle to press my raw edges down inside. Again, I do some additional stitches across the top to hold things together and to resolve any loose threads. One ball down, a bunch more to go. Once I've completed all of my balls, I braid a couple pieces of spare yarn together to create a cord for these to go on. Then I use a large darning needle to thread the balls onto the cord. This was surprisingly tough, especially getting through the knitted balls that I stuffed very densely, so I'd advise stuffing the balls more loosely and grabbing some pliers to pull a needle through. I could do a couple small stitches to hold them in place on the cord, but they were holding well enough, and it was nice to be able to shift them around a bit when putting them on the tree. Folksy and homemade, check. And now for the final project, my favorite, the most unexpected and unconventional, the unconventional Christmas tree. Unconventional Christmas trees have been all over the place for 2024, so let's make one out of trash. I picked this chandelier out of the metal scrap at the REISSUED last year. I had thought that I might take it apart and use the parts to make Christmas ornaments, but instead it just sat in my guest room all year. So what if we make this into a tree of sorts? We will need a strong heavy base to help it stand up, so I fished another broken lamp out of the metal scrap at the REISSUED since it has a very heavy metal and clay base. Just a quick note here, as a REISSUED employee, we don't advise our customers to dig in our trash or our metal scrap. Our REISSUED is liable for any injury, so jumping in the dumpster and injuring yourself in any way would be bad for the store. Additionally, with metal scrap, the store does sell the scrap and get some money for it, so I did make a donation to the store for these items to cover what they would have gotten for the scrap metal. My advice here, if you see something in the dumpster or the scrap bin that you want to take, always ask a REISSUED employee. The answer may be no, but very often we love to see items be used rather than be thrown away, and we don't always have the space to put damaged items like these on the floor. So bottom line here, always ask before taking any items out of a dumpster or a scrap bin at the REISSUED. With our basic parts in place, let's get to work. I started by taking things apart to see what we're working with. This was a tough process since a lot of the nuts and bolts were very rusty, but eventually I was able to take apart the bottom of the chandelier and remove the base from the floor lamp. The bolt sizes for these lamps were slightly different, so we threaded the smaller bolt from the chandelier through the heavy base to attach them. It was very hard to get all of the elements here aligned perfectly and tightened, so the tree definitely wants to stand a bit off kilter at times, but we're going with it. With the base in place, I wanted to reattach this hoop piece from the bottom at the top to help us achieve a more tree-like shape. The centerpiece for the hoop was too small to fit over the pipe at this point, so we decided to remove it and sandwich these two cup pieces around the center rods to hold the hoop in place. I stitched it together with jewelry wire, using the old chandelier crystal holes to secure everything in place. Again, this is not super strong or solid, but it will do the job and give us the look that we want to achieve here. And now we can add all the pieces back on, cutting down one of the pipes a little bit to accommodate for the changes we made to the structure. Now, let's light this thing. I'm using the second set of clear 200 light LEDs that Olney sent me, since I think the clear cord will be perfect for this. I start at the bottom, wrapping the lights mostly around the center, and extending them on the inside of the structure by wiring them with jewelry wire. This was incredibly tedious and tricky since the lights wanted to catch on all the little hooks from the old chandelier crystals, but after some trial and error and patience, I think this is looking really cool. I wire on these two amazing butterfly metal sculptures that I got at the REISSUED a couple months back. I think these might be mid-century. I went back and forth on whether or not these were tacky, but ultimately I'm so happy I got them because they literally bring this whole project together. I wire them to the chandelier to help achieve the triangular shape that we need. Now I can start adding some of the crystals from the REISSUED and a few glass and crystal ornaments that I had on hand. I thought about adding some clear and gold Christmas bulbs to this to give it more of a Christmas tree feel, but the little voice in the back of my head kept drawing me back to my original vision for the piece, which was more about chains and crystals and costume jewelry and this just sort of hodgepodge of scrap pieces that have that over-the-top, glamorous, but kind of junky feel, if that makes sense. Now, one of the hardest things about creating thrifted content here on YouTube is that I don't often know what I'm going to do for a video until the very last minute, and then I'm scrambling around trying to find what I need, and it can be hard to will certain items to appear at the thrift store. So for the last couple of weeks since I've come up with this idea, I've been searching everywhere for any sort of crystals and jewelry that I could get my hands on, and I was coming up short. However, yesterday I got lucky and came across some great items at the REISSUED. I happened to find a bunch of amazing crystals and ornaments, some glass and some plastic and some resin, I think, just in time to wrap up the styling for this tree. It just needed more fullness to create the tree-like shape and to diffuse the lights a bit. So I was so happy that I was able to find what I needed for around $5. Okay, so I just wrapped up the chandelier tree and I just had to jump on here. I can't stop myself from smiling. It's exactly how I pictured it in my head. I was not sure that I was gonna get all the right materials, but they kind of fell into my lap today at the REISSUED, and so I'm just super excited about it. I can't wait to show you. Now for some final details. The bottle brush trees have these glittery bases that I think make them feel kinda cheap. Last year I popped them into some terracotta pots, but this year I wanted to change it up and add some contrast to my display. So my dad chopped the bottom off of these quart-sized paint cans that I sprayed in an oil-rubbed bronze finish years ago to make plant pots. With the bottom removed, we can fold down the trees and squeeze them up through the center and slide the cans right over the existing bases. This happened to be a perfect fit, so no need to glue them or anything. And in another amazing stroke of luck, I found these two shorter red Pier 1 candles at Goodwill for $1.50. I loved the richer burgundy shade, but these proportions are much better for this display. And with a couple of finishing touches, we're done. So decorating for Christmas has officially become a monster job in my house. I had no idea. I stretched this out over 3 videos last year, so it didn't feel like as much, but having to put out everything at once was a lot. So there were a couple of things that I didn't get to. I really wanted to do these magnolia velvet stockings. I bought some fabric at Joann. I had some other fabric on hand, but ultimately I only had so much time, and I did just get a new sewing machine, so there's a bit of a learning curve there. So if you want to see that, I might pop that into a short, but otherwise we'll save that for next year. I am so happy with how these projects turned out, especially the chandelier tree. I love it so much. I hope you love it too. If you enjoyed this video and love these projects as well, be sure to hit the like button. If you want to see more DIY projects and progress on my home renovation, be sure that you're subscribed. Thanks so much for watching. Happy decorating. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.